Hi, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of We Talk Tech Seniors. Today, we're going to be talking about gardening and how we can make that accessible for everyone. I'm joined by Claude Ledoux, the retired Parks Horticulture Manager for New Westminster. And I'm also joined by Terry Leblanc, longtime advocate for accessible gardening and gardening expert. Okay, so first we are going to showcase Claude's amazing garden. He was very kind and gave myself and my coworker Benson a tour of, and we were both awestruck when we first set foot into it. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and I guess unconventional ways that it's accessible for people. Here we have his back patio, and as you can see, there are plants everywhere. It is a very lively place.
Well, Taylor, what's really interesting about this area is it's a covered area and it has sliding windows and doors. So when the weather is bad or your internal, you can bring all your plants in here. That's kept warm in the winter. So a lot of my tropicals that you might see here when someone looks at it go in that room. And I have lower areas like the table there with all the small clay pots that are easily accessible for people to go right up to. I mean, anyone that's in a wheelchair or small children, they can go up to that area and get close to plants and look at them.
There's a lot of levels in this area. Not everything is on ground level. There's benches and there's shelves and there's wall hangers. I think this enclosed area is also useful for people who don't tolerate the cold temperatures very well. You're not exposed to the elements and the plants will still thrive. This is an interesting example of maybe a coincidental accessibility feature. This is just a nice little shelf here that if you needed to roll up to it, you absolutely could. Perfect height for myself, in a standard power wheelchair. Claude was telling me as we went throughout the garden, there's stuff everywhere that is just recycled, and it's put together in a way that makes it nicely accessible and convenient.
I'm always looking around everywhere for something, that someone isn't using or throwing away. I find amazing things. But this is a perfect place for someone who wanted to grow lettuce or tomatoes. You could even lower the counter a bit more so you get more of a depth in a pot or a planter, right? Because the more depth in soil you have, the better off.
This is a prelude to things to come. This is a big source of inspiration for myself. So this here in the center is a strawberry shortcake. I've highlighted it here because I think it's a really good plant for someone in a wheelchair. It's you can't see it because it's so lush, but there is a large pot here in the center, and it's quite raised up. So this is right at the level somebody in a wheelchair would be in. And it grows entirely in a container. It doesn't need to be in the ground. You could just reel right up to it and pick all the berries off of it at your leisure.
The other positive about this plant is it's a bush. So you get that shape, and it is in a very large throwing pipe. So whoever's helping you with your gardening, once they put it there, it's going to stay. If you use that size of a container, which is probably a couple of feet wide.
So this was the highlight of the trip for me. I loved everything about Claude's garden, but when I saw these sprinklers, I was blown away by it and very inspired, as you'll see shortly. But these are sprinklers for
anywhere you want to put water and disperse it out like your video was showing.
I've taken this concept and I've run with it, as you'll see. Here we have my first adventure into irrigation. Got my carriage here and I'm instructing her, and we're laying a bunch of distribution tubing throughout my mother's garden here.
One note about the distribution tubing: if you can do it on a warm, sunny day, it's much more pliable and easy to lay out, and then it'll stay. Then let warm up, it'll stay in that area.
It's working quite well. So we've got one of these sprinkler heads up into this strawberry patch here. And there's also some drip tubing throughout the garden. This is my little area. And this is just a nice patio kind of built into the yard here. So I started the trip to Claude's garden was a bit of an inspiration for myself. So I've started my own collection. So we've got some bell peppers and we've got some blueberries. And we've got the strawberry shortcake. This is the same style as that massive one we saw in Claude's garden.
This looks fabulous.
Sure
Wow.
does.
Yeah. So
Like
these are
raised pots. Sorry, Taylor.
yes.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. I got these pots yesterday. They were an upgrade from just some small terracotta pots. And these are much, much higher. And once these plants start to grow in more, they're going to be much more accessible for me if I wanted to pick a berry by myself. That would be no problem because they're at a good height, especially in a manual chair, even a power chair. Everything here is automatically being watered. So I'm in complete control of when these are getting watered.
It's very empowering to be able to do that on your own.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, Terry. It is empowering to be able to do it on your own. So going on to Terry's empowerment, myself, my Carrie, Lily went over there to Terry's house and we set up a very similar system on a very hot afternoon. So again, Terry's got an Orbit beehive smart watering system. Terry's plants are in full bloom, so there isn't a lot to see in terms of the setup. For Terry, he's also got the app set up, so it's a smart watering system. And what that means is there is an app on your phone to control it. And part of that app is Alexa and Google integration. So Terry has full control over this watering system just using his voice. So he can tell it, water my plants, and it'll start watering. And he can say, water my plants for 20 minutes or 5 minutes or just water my plants, and it'll go on the schedule. Or if, Terry needs to go out of town for some reason, this system is smart. So it'll follow a schedule. Yeah. Or take the power back and do it yourself with your voice.
And I've checked a few times and it has gone on its own. So if I think it needs more, I use Google. And it's wonderful to do it yourself. Finally, I can do something in the garden.
What Terry's got here on the roof is almost what you call a community garden plot. So this is a nice transition into community gardens.
Yes.
For those of us who don't have a personal space, there is always community gardens, which are an excellent place. This is Port Royal Community Gardens in Queensborough, and this is a park which Claude had a lot of input in as the Parks Horticulture Manager.
We built this on it because it was quite a slope, and we're trying to figure out what would we do, an amphitheater, some theater, different things. But no, I said people want a garden, and if they're getting in smaller spaces, they have no place to go. Let's make it part of the park. And so this is tiered down. There's a plaza where people can go and have a little respite there, but there's also 2 beds that were specifically put in for anyone with mobility issues or height, and you can walk or roll right up to it and you can garden. And that's what these have been used for. This is the one, you can see it's number 2. It's on the left side of the structure, and there's another one on the right side.
So as you can see here, I am in my power chair and I can reach over and I can interact with these plants. It's great to see that accessibility has been factored into this garden. It is inclusive, and this plaza area, it's a nice, open, accessible space which you can take part in.
And it looked like good packed concrete paths. They're quite easy to roll on in a wheelchair.
Yes, we were careful about the materials, like you say, for rolling on.
Next, we're going to visit Opportunity Landing. And Opportunity Landing is a brand new accessible community garden in Langley. And I received a lovely tour from Janet Kreider, and she's part of the team who is developing this space. This is a fully accessible garden for everyone. I was amazed by the whole ethos behind this space. So I think there is about 60 of these nice planters. They're made of some recycled wood. They're completely recycled, but I would have had no idea because they look so excellent. But they are really nice because people in wheelchairs can get right underneath them. So here I am, and I'm pulled right up underneath. They're completely accessible, no question about it. You can get right up there, get your arms up in them, and reach both sides perfectly. Here you can see Janet at a planter which has been lowered a little bit. And this is something they're completely willing to do, is cut these planters down to whatever size you need. So if you're in a lower wheelchair or you prefer to work at a lower height like this, they have no problem just, chopping the legs off these and making one that's a little bit shorter just for you. The standard height of these is the countertop height, which is around 36 inches.
And you can reach right to the center, which is important with the tabletop gardens.
I really love the ethos of this place. As I said before, it's not just a community garden. They are, I think, more emphasis on the community. I think the garden is the starting point, but I think they also want to build a community around it. They have a large senior membership already, and they've received nothing but praise about these growing beds, which have made gardening enjoyable again for people who are suffering on the ground if they have to go work in the ground.
Yes. That's a brilliant design, and it's such a wonderful way to meet your neighbors. I have a space by the tracks, and I've gotten to know so many people in the community through that garden.
Gardening, that's what it's all about. You're connecting with people. You're so lucky, Terry, where you are to have that, and you get to meet with the other. It's the same with my garden out front. I'm out there in the front working, and I meet people I've never met in the neighborhood. And now people come by specifically to see what's going on. And I'm helping people to get involved, just like doing this with you guys. This is so much fun because it's such a passion of mine for growing vegetables and food and fruit or whatever. So I'm thrilled. This is beautiful.
And that's all I've got for you guys. That's gardening. It's accessible gardening.
I'm interested anytime if people come with questions that maybe we could field some questions sometime. If people ask questions and you put those together and the three of us sit, we could answer those questions and do another video that way. I think that would be a super way to help some people because live might be a little hard for it.
Yeah, we could definitely consider that. If anybody has any questions for Claude, Terry, or myself, please email them to seniors@technologyforliving.org. I'll get them and we can I'll forward them on to Claude and Terry, and we'll work out what we can do and how to answer your questions. I think we all want to spread the joy of gardening. Thank you, Claude. Thank you, Terry, for joining me. And maybe we'll do a follow-up if there's lots of questions from people. Please tune in for the next episode of We Talk Tech Seniors. Like, subscribe, and comment. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Take care. Happy gardening.